Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and welcome back to the Day 187 summary. Due to the copyright strike on my channel, I will not be able to upload live streams for the next 7 days, but in the meantime, I'm going to turn these into video summaries instead, and we're just going to upload them at the usual 10 p.m. Eastern Time upload date. So, without further ado, let's get right into the news, starting off with our location unknowns. In the first clip, we saw a Ukrainian soldier laying down fire onto some Russians in the distance. Of course, in an undisclosed location. It looks like he's aiming those shots fairly well, and it's great to see that Ukrainian soldiers look as trained now as they've ever been, and their equipment also looks pretty high-end as well. With that, we're now going to be moving on to our next bit of location unknown news, where we can then see a Ukrainian SPG on the run. Now, due to us getting a copyright strike, I don't believe it's a miss on any of y'all anymore how serious copyright can be, and so for this reason, we're muting this video. But we can see the Ukrainian SPG rolling through the fields as fast as it can, and artillery literally raining down all around it, but somehow, luckily surviving the entire thing. It's very lucky for this crew, and they will go on to fight another day in this war. We can see that the video cut for a second, and it now looks like they're showing it again, this time now inside the cab. And they are rocketing out of there. At the end, it looks like we see something like a scope, and more artillery shell and smoke coming out of the craters, and that's the end of the video. Still pretty interesting to see, and it's good to know that that crew got out of there by the skin of their teeth. With that, we're now moving on to our final bit of location unknown news, where we can finally see confirmed footage of a Ukrainian MiG29 using an AGM88 HARM anti-radiation missile. So here's the video, and of course on this one, we have to mute it as well. But we can see a Ukrainian pilot walking up to his MiG29. Once again, really cool camouflage. It's this kind of like a digital techno camouflage. It's really hard to explain, but it is cool. We can see a SG-25 give a low flyby, and now these MiG-29s are taking off to go to the front. And right there, actually, let me show y'all this. Right here is the nose cone of an AGM-88. And just to show y'all this real quick, the AGM-88 HARM, just so that way we can have some confirmation. That is what it looks like on the pylon of what appears to be... Ooh, I can't really tell you for certain what kind of plane that is, but you can see the nose cone right there, and you can see in this video the same distinctive tapered kind of shape. So we do know that this MiG-29 is carrying AGM-88s for sure. This is our first video confirmation of this, actually. When you see them still flying over a gulf, now they're flying over some fields, and now they're firing off the AGM-88s. Now we can see the MiG flying over some burning forests, strafing the ground with what may be rocket pods, although I can't really tell you for certain. They're now flying back over the fields. They were flying over a gulf for a moment. And I just gotta say, it's always impressive to see these Ukrainian fighter pilots flying over their own home territory, and it's really cool to just watch pilots fly. I wish we could watch this footage all day, but of course, we got all kinds of news to cover. Once again, taking a look at the wingman. And interestingly enough, it looks like they've tried to modernize this MiG-29 as much as they can with this central display. It looks like something that's been added on to this MiG-29 fairly recently. Now we can see them flying through some cloud cover and into the open skies. And we can see that this video is actually dedicated to a friend, Yevgen Lysenko. And unfortunately, it sounds like he's died, but the Ukrainian Air Force continues to live on and continues to help out the Ukrainian ground forces in retaking Ukraine. With that, we're now going to be moving on into our next bit of news, which is actually not in the location unknowns and is in the Kharkiv area, as we saw that Russians were hit by the 95th Artillery Brigades, Airborne Assault Brigades artillery. And so here's the video of that. I have to keep it muted, but we can see a BTR moving into the tree line and trying to get all nice and cozy, but the Ukrainians, of course always taking an affront to that, made sure to let them know that they are unwelcome here. You see the drone still looking down, and that was a direct hit. That is brewing up for sure, and that's the end of that one right there. And we can actually see another one that appears right there beside the one that was just destroyed. But with that, that's all the news we've gotten from the Kharkiv pocket today, and we've actually had to shorten our news a lot due to this having to be done in such a small amount of time. But still, I hope y'all are enjoying it so far, and let us know in the live chat, because hopefully this thing will be a premiere. Anyways, moving on through the Chuiv, Balaclava, and Izium area, we've had no news to report from here. We have heard the Ukrainian counterattack may be going on in the Izium area, but of course, due to operational security issues, we cannot show any of that on stream. We're now going to be moving past the Seversk, Slavyansk, and Bakhmut areas, where we've gotten no news as well. We're moving beyond Orlivka and down into Dinettes, where we have gotten some news of a Russian tank being hit in this area. And we can see the video right here. And it's very grainy, sorry about that in advance, but we see the Russian tank moving on its own, oddly enough, in the open, down this one road. It looks like it may be a paved road, but it's still incredibly odd whenever we see the lone Russian tank on the move. Usually they move in a group of two, but a single one like this may suggest that the other one was picked off, or this one has gotten lost. We can now see the tank get hit, and that's most likely taken out for sure. We see it continue to slowly roll forward as it comes to a stop. It's now drifted off to the side of the road. And it was hit a second time. We now see a drone taking a top-down look at it, and you can certainly tell the crew has abandoned the vehicle, and it has been knocked out for certain. It's great to see that the Ukrainians are still operating like this in the Donetsk area, and hopefully there will be more like it in the future. With that, we're now going to be moving out of the Donetsk region and all the way through the southern front, where absolutely nothing has happened today as far as we're able to show on video, and we're now going to be moving to KHERSON, which is the major attraction for the past 48 hours, and it's certainly showing a lot of promise. Starting off, we do have to cover that the Ukrainians have continued to strike all the bridges that cross the Dnipro River that are still partially intact, at least on their tarmac. We've seen more HIMARS strikes hitting the Novokakhovka Dam Bridge just this night, and so here's the video of that. Getting a nice wide spread on the bridge, making sure to cause as much damage as possible. It wasn't just the Novokakhovka Dam Bridge that was hit. The Antonovsky Bridge was hit once more again today. We already know that it has been critically damaged to the point that the Russian military can no longer use it, but the Ukrainians have decided to strike it again today. And there's an important fact to be seen in this video. That is the barge bridge that the Russians have been trying to construct across the Dnipro River, and they've attached it directly to the, I guess you could say, support legs of the Antonovsky Bridge. The problem is that it's only halfway done as of right now, and so we will never see this barge bridge being used in this entire counterattack by the Ukrainians. They neither have the luxury nor the time anymore to try and do something like that without it most likely being destroyed or the equipment bringing the barges in being knocked out. So for now, the Russians on the western banks of the Dnipro River only rely on the ferry. That's the only thing they have. So I'm going to let the video continue. Those are some meaty hits. You can even see the damage from here on screen.
Вообще замечательно.
With that, that's the end of the video, and we now know for certain the Russians are on the pain train. And not only that, way behind the lines in an undisclosed location, this was somewhere in the Kherson front, but we have no idea where, we saw the reinvention of the Battery of the Convention. Just in case y'all don't know what the Battery of the Convention is, during Napoleon's time, he created these massive artillery batteries called Batteries of the Convention that were overwhelmingly large for the time, and it was due to the heavy training that these French artillerists got at the time that they were able to operate such a massive battery. And we can see here that the Ukrainians have now recreated the Battery of the Convention with HIMARS. Look how many streaks of missiles there are in the air.
Так, если ебашут химарсы, блядь. Давайте, блядь, на Херсон. Показываем работу Химарса.
It's impressive to see. That's the end of the video, but as you can see, the Ukrainians are using their artillery to strike deep into the Russian lines at what matters, their supply lines. Not only that, but it appears that things are going incredibly bad for the Russians. In some area of the front line, we saw a drone using bombless, but of course, we cannot show this one on stream because it's too graphic. But if you would like, you can go click on the link in the description below where there is that video. Moving on closer to the Kherson city area, although, once again, we have no idea where all of these markers exactly are. We did see that a Russian BTR hit a mine today, apparently while under Ukrainian attack. We have no idea where this is, but it is showing that the Russians, even on their own video platforms, are having an incredible difficult time. We can see the BTR on the move, and it gets hit by a mine, knocking the BTR out. The crew immediately starts trying to hop out. We see them opening up the side door, and then climbing out. And we can already hear that they're in the middle of a firefight at this very moment. We see the rest of the crew getting out after the literal bombshell of a surprise. And we're actually going to have to end the video here because the rest of it is a little bit too un-PG for YouTube. But I will have to tell y'all, the anti-tank mine did its job. With that, we're now going to be moving on into Kherson itself, and I think it's time for the Russians to start worrying. Because today we've not only gotten one, but two videos from the outskirts of the city showing, and well, not really showing, but more so letting you hear the sounds that the war has come to Kherson. Here's the first video of gunfire in the outskirts of the city. Once again, this isn't Violate OpSec because we have no idea where these Ukrainian forces are exactly, and the Russians probably already know they're here, considering they are firing back at them. But you can hear the echoing of gunfire, and you can see that there is a small amount of traffic on the streets of Kherson, showing that a lot of citizens must know that the war is near. We can hear artillery going off in the distance as that firefight continues going on. And it is most likely just a few miles away from this area. We're not sure exactly where this is in the city, but this is on the outskirts of it. The Russians are in for a bad time. We're now going to be moving on into our second video. This one tries to give a lot more of a precise location, but at the same time, it does not show Ukrainian forces and where exactly they are. So, for that reason, this video also does not violate OpSec. Just to clarify what OpSec is to some of y'all, in case if y'all don't know, it's giving away your forces' locations and what they're doing. And we don't really know if these even are Ukrainians. These could be Russians that have confused other Russians for Ukrainians. We don't really know, but we have heard large outbreaks of gunfire in the city, like in this video. Right below this camera. The fire continues on at somewhat of a steady rate right now. Not incredibly intense, but still steady nonetheless. It's now beginning to pick up, and it sounds like the fight's starting to become rather serious at this point. Most likely with both squads of whoever side these are engaging each other in a ferocious fight.
Щось горить, блядь, дом какой-то. Вон, сейчас. Пока дыма.
It continues on for a little bit longer, and we now see smoke rising up in front of the camera. I would just love to know if these actually are Ukrainians or not, because I wouldn't doubt it if the Russians are committing friendly fire on these videos, because the counterattack may be moving at such a pace that they've now freaked out and thought that the Ukrainians may be in the city, and so the first time they see a Russian unit, they just get in a firefight with them on the spot, and it's a blue on blue. Well, really more of a red on red in terms of the Russian situation, but still, it is interesting to see that apparently all chaos is breaking out. Not only that, but in the night leading up to today, another ammunition dump was hit inside of Kherson, leading to a massive explosion, which most likely freaked out the entire garrison before this day's events even unfolded. So here's the video of this artillery dump exploding.
Алло, Лена бедный, что тебе непонятно? Ну все, ну что ты жуешь? Да это пиздец нахуй, что? Ой, ёбаный в рот.
Looks like there's a nice little fire going on out there, and of course, it is always important to bring out your marshmallows and your hot dogs during this time.
Да там же склад, блядь, как раз уебали туда, блядь.
Looks like it's starting to pick up a little bit. It sounds like it's getting a little louder. And I love the spotlight this guy's got blaring right in his face. So now, knowing that the Russians cannot really get supplies across the river, and the supplies within the city have most likely been destroyed, now you can start to see why Russian forces may have been panicking in the early hours of the morning, if we are to believe that. Once again, we're not entirely sure what's going on here. The video and picture evidence isn't really leading us into clear assumptions. We don't have anything to back up those videos with. So right now, y'all's guess is as good as mine as to how this is going, but I do hope it's going incredibly well. See this guy smoking a nice cigarette? He's now adding a little bit more dialogue. And we're going to end this video here, but y'all can get the idea. This keeps on going on and on and on. Probably for hours. And with that in mind, and considering the video I put out earlier, I do think that the Russians are in a little bit of trouble in this area, and we may see them begin to kind of fold in a way. But we're not going to add a lot to that, because of course we're trying to make sure that operational security is instilled, and so all we can do is show y'all the bits of video evidence we have. We can't really connect any locations to them. We can't draw any pictures, because rather than what they're showing, we have no idea what's going on there. We'll be waiting for the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense to give us any kind of official reports, and I hope that they are incredibly good. Finally, moving on to our second to last bit of news for the night, we saw that on Snake Island, the Ukrainians were firing off some iglas. Not for fun, but it's something in the distance, although we couldn't see it. And so here's the video. They fire the igla, and it's on its way, but we still don't see the aircraft it's being fired at. But that's the end of the video, and it's still interesting to see that there are Ukrainian forces on Snake Island. And so with that, we are now finally moving out of the news for the day. An incredibly short segment, and we're now going to be pulling up the president of Ukraine's website and listening to his speech. And so, let me flip over here. Here's the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky on today's wonderful day.
Українці, українки, сьогодні Верховна Рада попрацювала доволі результативно і, зокрема, підтримала декілька важливих законів та ратифікацій, що наближають нас до Європейського Союзу. Як би не було складно, навіть в умовах такої війни ми крок за кроком рухаємось до повноправного членства в ЄС. Щойно я підписав ці документи про приєднання до Конвенції про спрощення формальностей у торгівлі товарами і до Конвенції про процедуру спільного транзиту. Вони є фактичною реалізацією митного безвізу. Ми зробили це в рекордний строк і абсолютно злагоджено усі гілки влади. Я хочу подякувати усім нашим дипломатам, урядовцям, депутатам, які забезпечили цей результат. Україна буде повноправним членом ЄС, і ми вже найближче з Європою, ніж будь-коли в попередні десятиліття. Вже прибули в нашу державу представники МАГАТЕ, які мають відвідати Запорізьку атомну станцію. Це важлива місія, ми робимо все, щоб вона відбулась безпечно і працювала повно. На жаль, Росія не припиняє провокацій і якраз на тих напрямках, з яких місія має прибути на станцію. Але сподіваюся, що місія МАГАТЕ зможе почати свою роботу. Ситуація на ЗАЕС і в Енергодарі, в навколишніх районах залишається надзвичайно загрозливою. Окупанти не залишають станцію, продовжують обстріли, не забирають з території АЕС свою зброю і боєприпаси. Вони залякують наших атомників. Ризик радіаційної катастрофи через російські дії не зменшується ані на годину. Сьогодні вночі говорив про це з президентом Франції Еммануелем Макроном, скоординував наші позиції у захисті України і Європи від російського радіаційного шантажу. Вдень обговорив ситуацію на Запорізькій АЕС та направлення місії на станцію з гендиректором МАГАТЕ Гросі. Сподіваюся, що разом з міжнародними організаціями, з усіма нашими партнерами ми зможемо повернути станцію під повний контроль України і змусити Росію забрати своїх військових, зброю зі станції. Потрібна негайна і повна демілітаризація ЗАЕС. Тільки Україна може гарантувати, що на Запорізькій станції усі процеси відбуватимуться згідно зі стандартами та під контролем. Росії це просто не потрібно. Провів сьогодні зустріч із американськими сенаторами, паном Портманом і пані Клобучар, які прибули в Київ. Це люди, які зробили дуже багато для захисту нашої держави, загалом свободи в Європі та світі. Подякував за двопартійну підтримку. Ключова тема переговорів – це, звичайно, наша взаємодія зі Сполученими Штатами Америки, необхідні кроки для нашої спільної перемоги в цій битві за свободу. Зокрема, обговорили посилення підтримки України, фінансової та безпекової, посилення санкційної політики проти Росії. Вони мають наростати ці санкції як сніжний ком, щоб знести терористичний потенціал цієї держави. Протягом цієї доби окупанти жорстоко обстрілювали Харків, Миколаїв, інші наші міста і майже всюди саме цивільну інфраструктуру. Тільки один російський обстріл Харкова забрав сьогодні життя 5 людей, ще 12 поранено. Є жертви і від інших обстрілів. Вічна пам'ять усім, чиє життя забрали окупанти. Збройні сили нашої держави, наші спецслужби, наша розвідка роблять усе можливе і неможливе, щоб кожен російський військовий обов'язково відчув українську відповідь на цей страшний терор, який Росія принесла на нашу землю. По всій тимчасово окупованій території України, від Криму до Харківщини, у російської армії немає, не буде жодної безпечної бази, жодного тихого місця. Наші захисники будуть знищувати всі склади, штаби окупантів, їхню техніку, де б вони не розміщувались. Під Севастополем – значить під Севастополем. Під Луганськом – значить під Луганськом. Це українська земля. Окупанти можуть зробити тільки 2 речі – втекти або здатися в полон. Інших опцій ми їм не залишаємо. Активні бойові дії наразі відбуваються майже по всій лінії фронту, і на півдні, і на Харківщині, на Донбасі. Особливо хочу сьогодні подякувати бійцям 56-ї, 110-ї бригад, які проявляють максимальну стійкість і героїзм на Авдіївському напрямку. Воїнам 53-ї і 93-ї бригад, які захищають Бахмутський напрямок, захищають мужньо, розумно, героїчно. Російське військове командування отримало вказівку захопити Донецьку область до кінця серпня. Кінець серпня вже завтра. На Донбасі український прапор і українські герої. Попри все, попри цілодобовий російський вогонь, попри намагання окупантів перекинути туди різних найманців та зеків, я дякую кожному і кожній, хто стійко тримається, хто захищає позиції, хто влучно мінусує окупантів, їхню техніку, логістику, боєприпаси. Також сьогодні хочу ще раз звернути увагу усіх наших людей в Криму. Будь ласка, тримайтесь подалі від російських військових об'єктів. Не знаходитесь поблизу російських баз і військових аеродромів. Повідомляйте спеціальним службам України всю відому вам інформацію про окупантів, щоб звільнення Криму відбулось швидше. Вічна слава усім нашим героям, вічна слава усім, хто допомагає боротись за життя, за незалежність. Слава Україні!
And with that, that is the end of President Zelensky's speech. And that rounds out our short little news summary for the night. I hope you all have enjoyed it in replacement of the live stream. And of course, if you have, please make sure to hit the like button. And please make sure to help out this channel because y'all's support is the only thing that keeps us running. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for bearing with this small delay, and I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time again to cover the next 24 hours of the war. And so, since we didn't get a proper intro tonight, I'm going to leave y'all with a proper outro as we play the anthem of Ukraine during this historic moment. Have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.